Welcome to One-on-One with Expert Flyer. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and today we have a travel expert with us. He's a contributing writer to FlyerTalk, the Frugal Travel Guy, and About.com, and many others. His name is Joe Cortez. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Lisa. It's good to be here this morning.
Thank you for your time. So we're still technically in January, so I think we can still talk about trends for 2016. And I know you have a bunch of things to talk about. And I think one of the things that I know our fans and followers are always interested in is, what's going on in air travel in particular. And this year, there's been hints that all the major airlines are really going to be vying for customers at the front of the plane, business class, first class, premium economy. So I wanted to get your take on that. And are economy flyers going to just be left out in the cold?
Well, for economy flyers in particular, there is good news and there is bad news to be had. Let's start with the bad news. Yes, a lot of the airlines' attention will be focused on the front of the cabin. It will be focused on that combined business first cabin, and it will be on premium economy and upgrading flyers to premium economy. That is the bad news. Even worse to that, in 2016, you will get exactly what you pay for in the economy cabin. Now, what does that mean? If you remember, in 2014, Delta announced that the 5-tier system where at the very base tier, you get the seat, you get in the back of the plane, and really that's it. No snack. You don't get to select your seat. You get one carry-on, and that's it. And then you have paid your way up to whatever service you want. You will see some of that, a lot of that still in 2016, but the differentiator will be customer service. United, for instance, is really launching a new customer service campaign, a new customer service attitude in order to retrain those economy travelers. They're introducing snacks on certain flights. They're keeping drinks free, and they're helping out customers at every step of the way. You might remember in December 2015 when they announced the United Pause program at each of their major hubs, where therapy animals were there to help travelers get through the winter doldrums. So what you're going to see for economy travelers, number one, you will get what you pay for. If you buy the most frugal seat, if you buy the cheapest seat in the back of the airplane, don't expect a whole lot of frills to come with it. But that being said, customer service will still be a differentiator, especially for those economy travelers, because they understand that's how loyalty will be retained in 2016 and beyond.
Very good. Okay, well, speaking of loyalty, let's talk about frequent flyer programs. Over the past couple of years, I guess, we've seen dramatic overhauls. So now, the big guys, Delta and United, have changed to this dollars spent versus miles flown. And now we saw American Airlines announce, I guess it was in November, that they were going to be following suit this year, I guess sometime in the second half, much to the dismay of AAdvantage fans and followers. So is this a really striking blow to consumers in your opinion? Is there a way for leisure travelers to get around this in some way, shape, or form?
Well, let's break that down into the two major categories. There's still loyalty miles, elite qualifying miles, I should say, and there's award miles that you will earn. Now, the award miles are what's changing. That's what's revenue based. With the shift of American Airlines later this year, a mile flown will no longer be a mile earned. Instead, your award mileage will be based on how much you spend on the base fare and certain other upgrades and whatnot with the airline at their discretion. That being said, elite qualifying miles will not change in 2016. A mile flown as an elite flyer will still be a mile earned. The only difference is that only goes towards your elite status, your silver, your gold status with the airline, and does not include any mileage you may earn as a frequent flyer. So that being said, there's still an opportunity to continue flying if you want to be an elite flyer, if you want to have those upgrades and have that extra nice treatment from the airline. There's still a great opportunity for that with those airlines. On the other side of that, don't expect to get a whole lot of miles anymore from strictly flying at this point, because they are no longer exist.
Okay, interesting. So folks talk about using credit cards as a way to kind of get around this. In your mind, are there any that you think are better than others? Are there pros and cons to this tactic of generating miles?
There are a lot of pros and cons as there is with everything in life. And it really depends on what exactly you value and what type of travel you value now and into the future. If you know you're going to be flying with one airline in particular, if you know that's going to be your primary means of transportation as you try to fly to see the world in 2016, there's nothing wrong with holding that airline's credit card. And depending on the volume of flying you do, it may be worth it to consider the upgraded card. For instance, the Chase United Explorer card gives you frequent flyer miles for all of your everyday spending, whereas the Chase Club card comes with a higher fee, but also includes more miles per dollar per spend that you put on the card, and also includes a membership to the United Club that you can use anytime you're flying with United or on a Star Alliance carrier. So there's advantages to that. Now, if you just value the ability to travel, if you value wanting to go places, then I think the biggest thing to consider is using a card that either offers flexible points or cash back. Both American Express and Chase offer credit cards that have great opportunities to earn flexible points that can either be redeemed directly with them for travel or can be transferred to airline partners that can be used for travel on those particular airlines, allowing you to see the world for free. So really, it's a matter of what do you value the most, where's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, and more importantly, are you really going to be traveling with one particular airline throughout the year, or you're going to be traveling with whatever's cheapest in the year? And that really will govern how credit cards play into your overall mileage strategy in 2016.
Okay, great. So talk a little bit about the monopoly now that we are seeing with booking sites. Expedia and Priceline in particular now have the monopoly. They're the two big 800-pound gorillas in the room. Are there any creative options to explore now that we're in this sort of situation?
There's still a lot of great options to explore, and I think one of my favorite ones is Google Flights, powered by ITA Matrix. Not a whole lot of people know that Google actually bought ITA software several years back, and now use that software to power their Google Flights software. And what I love about Google Flights is it allows me a whole lot more flexibility than maybe Expedia or Priceline would necessarily offer me. Through each of those, I can only see a certain number of flights. Through Google Flights, I have a lot more flexibility in how I route my flights, in the directions I go in with my flying experience, and ultimately allows me to decide when and where I want to fly and how I want to get there. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced user, if you have a better understanding of how it works, or know you're going to be flying more in 2016, it may be worthwhile to learn how to use ITA Matrix. And there's a lot of great tutorials online that show you how to use the software. The great thing about ITA Matrix is even though you can't book through ITA Matrix, you can use that information to go back to a Priceline or an Expedia or Google Flights and effectively build that same flight all the way through and still save money because you've built your own itinerary through the software that powers a lot of booking engines. Finally, if either of those don't work for you, it doesn't hurt to talk to a travel agent as well. If you have that information from ITA Matrix, you can take that information, hand it to a travel agent and say, this is what I found. Can you book this for me at this price? And in many situations, a knowledgeable travel agent will be able to help you through that and save money through those creative means.
I was going to say that's probably the route I would take. It sounds like you've got to be a bit of a tech geek to get your way around the ITA Matrix, but good advice.
There's a lot to be said for ITA Matrix. It really is a great software. If you don't want to use it, learn it. Google Flights is basically the same thing in a much more friendly system, and this is why I recommend Google Flights to anybody who's asking me where to try to book my flight. Google Flights is a place I go first and foremost because of just all the flexible options and all the different routing I can take. Plus, a little known feature about Google Flights, it also shows you what the prices look like now and into the future. So if your itinerary isn't set, if you don't have it set in stone yet, you can always look at what does the price look like today, what does it look like in 3 months, and what are the overall trends in my flying.
Okay. I like that. All right. Budget airlines, to name a few, Norwegian, WOW, Viva Colombia, are gaining in popularity. People are talking about them. Obviously, they're going to very desirable destinations, Europe, South America, at rock bottom prices. Is this too good to be true?
No and yes is the short answer for you. No, they are not too good to be true because that is the base fare for those airlines and for those prices. So for that low price of $249 from the West Coast or $99 from the East Coast, you can get to Europe. That's the good news. The bad news on the back end of that is there's a lot of fees that aren't hidden per se, but get tacked on throughout the flight. So for that base price, you can carry on one personal item. You can you don't get to select your seat, but you can fly with the airline and they'll select a seat for you. If you want to select a seat, there's a fee for that. If you want to take on a second carry-on item, there's a fee for that. If your carry-on item weighs too much, there's a fee for that, and so on and so forth. So while the prices will get you in the door, don't necessarily expect to pay that price at the end of the day. Instead, you will want to budget a little bit more because there will be more fees on the end of that, unless you just want to travel at that rock bottom price with whatever you're wearing in a personal item. And if that's the case, you can definitely get to Europe for that low price.
Fair enough. We can buy a new wardrobe in Paris when we get there, right?
With the savings money, you can certainly do that. You can also ship your luggage ahead of time, which, depending on the destination and the service you use, may save you a little bit of money and frustration versus flying it with the carrier.
Very good advice. All right, before we let you go, I'm sure you're planning a lot of cool, interesting stories among the outlets that you're writing for. Anything in particular you want to tease or talk about?
Well, in the coming month, in the next month here, we're going to elaborate a little bit more on the divide you're going to see in economy and how to make economy a little bit more livable, if you will. We'll be doing that for FrugalTravelGuy.com. We're also going to be talking about those low-cost carriers to Europe, like we said, Norwegian, Wow Air, who are going overseas for low prices, and we're going to actually investigate the actual cost of flying one of those airlines for FrugalTravelGuy.com later this month. We're also going to, for About.com, we'll be talking about travel insurance and safety. This next month, we're going to be talking about how many guns actually get through the TSA checkpoint, and more importantly, who gets to fly with a gun and who can't, because this is something that a lot of people don't understand. There may be more guns in your aircraft than you think.
Wow. Boy, you've got me intrigued now. All right, we're going to have to tune in. We want to have you back again, too. It was a pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you for having me this morning.
Take care.